Again, Jesus spoke to them, saying, I am the light of the world. Whoever follows me will not walk in darkness, but will have the light of light. Welcome to a little bit of encouragement today. I'm praying that this word finds you in a good place, but maybe it won't find you in a good place. Maybe it will find you in a rough, dark place. So I've been watching the clouds for a little while. And if you can see behind me here, boom, there's some mountains in the distance. Snow-covered mountains, because it's the end of winter time here in Southwest Washington. And it's a pretty moderate climate here, but the mountains do get snow. And I've been watching the clouds around those mountains, and they're coming down, and you can see in a draw in those hills over there, clouds have been filling the valleys and coming down through those draws, and there's some bad weather out there. Darkness is, if you're inside those clouds, I guarantee you it's pouring down rain right now. And it's about, I don't know, let's see what, because watches tell what temperature is right these days, but it's probably about 37 degrees and raining hard over there. And bad weather. And maybe your life is a little bit of bad weather right now. Maybe it's great weather. And I hope that this message reaches you no matter if your life is going great or if it's bad weather. Because I want to just take a second and remind us of Christ and what he can do for us. And we've all heard it. Well, maybe we all haven't heard it. Most maybe haven't heard it. I'm speaking from my own perspective. I've heard a lot of times what Christ can do for us and in us and to us and through us. Maybe you haven't, though. And I'm lucky. I don't have a very interesting testimony, as it were, as far as Christians go. Christians can have this thing that is kind of weird, where we get jealous of testimonies, because some people are saved from this close to death, from an overdose on you name it. And they've been alcoholics for 50 years and they gave their life to Christ and they haven't touched a drop since, or whatever the case may be. And it just basically is a story about my life was terrible and now it's awesome because of Jesus. And those stories are true. I'm not disparaging those stories at all. I'm lucky my story isn't necessarily like that. I had a few rough months, maybe a couple years where I wasn't as close to Christ as I could have been, but I was lucky to be raised in a home where I was taught to love God. And I remember when I was just a little boy, loving God. And I would set up, we had an old phone I got from my uncle. It was a wireless phone, and I would set it up, and it had a way to an intercom function that you could speak into the phone and you could hear it from the speaker on the base. So I used to set up the headset of the phone and speak into it, and like it was a microphone coming, and the speaker would come, the sound would come out of the speaker in the bass. And I used to preach when I was 7 years old. I'd preach to the cat or something, and I was shy. And I remember my mom saying that she had dedicated me to be a minister. And I thought that looked like being a pastor. And I was shy at the time. And I'm still an introverted type of person. I love people. I love talking to people. And by the time, the thought of speaking to people was terrifying. And when my mom told me that she had dedicated me as a baby to being a minister, I rejected that. I was like, well, God, as far as 7-year-olds can talk to God, I don't know if I'm going to do that. I can't see myself talking to a bunch of people in a building or wherever. It was like the idea of going to the doctor and getting a shot, which was also terrifying to me at the time. But nevertheless, here I am and speaking to you about Jesus, and in a way, I'm still got that phone catching my voice and coming out a speaker somewhere because I'm talking to a phone right now. And maybe you're hearing this right now, and I'm talking about Jesus still. And that's my testimony, and I'm lucky to have it. Maybe you're lucky too, but you're not quite as lucky. Maybe your testimony looks a little bit more like those powerful, good, amazing Christian testimonies where life was X and then Jesus came. But maybe Jesus hasn't come into your life yet. Maybe your life is more like those cloudy, rainy spots on the mountains. Cold, miserable. Coat's not quite warm enough. The roof on your house has a leak in it. And you don't know what you're going to do. You've reached the end of your rope. And it's hard to hold your head above water. And that's about all the metaphors I have for a hard life. I could probably go on, but I don't want to sound foolish. Or maybe your life is just swell. You had fun last night or last week, and you're going to have fun tomorrow, and life's a party. And you see no need for any of the things that I'm talking about. Why would you need Jesus to be the light of your life? Because your life is good. You've got the sun, you've got lights that go on and off with a click of a switch. What does it even mean to have Jesus as the light of your life or the light of the world? Try to explain what it means. Someday those lights are going to go out if they're made by you. You ever had the power go off in your house? All of a sudden, everything goes dark. Where once there was contentment, now there's an urgency. I need to get the things out of the freezer and somehow store them so they either use them or store them before they go bad. The milk's gonna get warm and it's only got a few more hours left before it's gonna be bad. And what am I gonna put on my cereal? And how am I gonna see at night? And like, what am I gonna? I don't like reading, and I don't even have a flashlight if I wanted to read, and the TV doesn't work. And you see how life can change in the instant. Where once we had confidence, now we have hopelessness. And where once we were content, we have all of a sudden restlessness. And or once you knew what the future held, and now you don't know what you're gonna do. And you know how that is. And right now we're all preparing for something, it seems like, and the restlessness in the world. And as I speak right now, COVID's been in the world for a little over a year. And we've all been wearing masks everywhere we go. Even if the masks work or they don't, you still have to wear them. And we have to socially distance. And we're starting to see a little hope, but there's new strains that are coming out, and the vaccine that we've been taking for the last month or so doesn't necessarily protect against all of them, and we're talking about masks for the next year still, and where's the hope, and what are we gonna do? And I gotta get to the restaurant, and I can't socially distance anymore. And we should have never socially distanced. Physically distanced, perhaps. Socially distanced, we're a social creature, and people were meant to socialize and to love and to care for each other and to do all of these things we do as people, gather around campfires and watch movies together and tell stories and laugh and cry and do all the things we do. And now we can't even go to funerals. People have not been able to go to church, and you know the story. You've lived it as well as I have. Where once life was satisfying and full of joy, now is confusing and maybe hopeless. And what does it mean when Jesus says, I am the light of the world? So find it again here. Again, Jesus spoke to them, saying, I am the light of the world. Whoever follows me will not walk in darkness, but will have the light of life. You ever followed Jesus before? Let's turn over to John 10. Truly, truly, starting in verse 1. Truly, truly, I say to you, he who does not enter the sheepfold by the door, but climbs in by another way, that man is a thief and a robber. We've been climbing in the other way, finding our joy in things that maybe aren't supposed to provide joy, or we're drinking our cares away, or taking some sort of drug to be able to go to sleep at night, and taking another drug to be able to wake up in the morning, and something to find happiness in life. You know what that is? It's going in the sheepfold by another door, because Jesus is the light of life. But he who enters by the door is the shepherd of the sheep. To him the gatekeeper opens. The sheep hear his voice, and he calls his own sheep by name and leads them out. When he has brought out all his own, he goes before them, and the sheep follow him, for they know his voice. A stranger they will not follow, but they will flee from him, for they do not know the voice of strangers. This figure of speech Jesus used with them, but they did not understand what he was saying to them. So Jesus here is telling a parable about sheep following a shepherd. Like I said, sometimes we try to get into the sheepfold by another door, and we try to climb over the fence instead of going in through the gate, and essentially trying to find joy in life and things that don't necessarily bring joy on a sustainable basis. And sometimes, let's put ourselves in the sheepfold. Sometimes things jump into the sheepfold that promise good things to us and promise a good life and hope and joy, and they're thieves and robbers. If joy is a drug, is a thief and a robber. If you need something bad to have fun, whatever that is, it's a thief and a robber. But there is a true shepherd, a good shepherd, that comes into the door, and he's not a thief and he's not a robber. He's there to give you sustainable life, sustainable joy, sustainable salvation. And he promises to come to us and to save us from all the things that we need saving from. To put a roof over our heads, to drag us out of the mountains and bring us into the sunlight. I am the light of the world. What if the light of the world went away? What if the sun went away? How long would we live without the sun? I don't know the numbers, but in the vacuum of space, the things, if I held my Bible up in the vacuum of space on this side that faced the sun, whichever side, it would be boiling hot. I don't know the temperature. It would fry your skin. And on the other side would be completely frozen. Because there's no atmosphere to radiate the heat in an even way. And I'm not a scientist, and some scientists may be watching me right now and go, he has got it all wrong. And maybe I do, but my point is, if the sun went away, we would all freeze to death in a matter of, I don't know, not very long. And if our atmosphere went away, we would all fry to death in the presence of the sun too. So Jesus is the perfect light of the world. And what he means by that is that he brings life. He is the life giver of the world. Just as the sun, its energy hits the world in rays and causes plants to grow through photosynthesis, and the sun's energy sustains all of life on earth. Without the sun, life would just go away. And that's what Jesus is talking about in him being the light of the world. That he is the life giver of the world. One, in that he created the sun in the world. Another is that he created you. So why did he create you? I struggled with this for a while. Even when I was older, been a Christian for 30 some years, and I'm still struggling with, why am I here, God? And I remember one morning thinking about this, and didn't just open, but I came across a verse in Hebrews 12, 1 and 2. It says, therefore, since we are surrounded by so great a cloud of witnesses, let us also lay aside every weight and sin which clings so closely, and let us run with endurance the race that is set before us. So what was I talking about? The things that jump over the sheepfold, the fence of the sheepfold, and get in, and they're like false lights of the world, and they're thieves and robbers coming to steal your life away from you. So we're to run with endurance the race that is set before us, throwing off all the sins and weights that cling so closely, because those false light givers, those sins that we have in our life that cling so closely, things that we don't want to give up, whatever it is, I've got them too. I don't want to give that up. I like that, God. There's sins and weights that cling so closely, but if you're running a race, you got to get rid of that stuff. You got to be as light as possible. If you want to win, get rid of those things. But then here it comes. This is why you were made. Looking to Jesus, the founder and perfecter of our faith, who for the joy that is set before him, looking to Jesus, put away all of those things and look to Jesus. Put away those false light givers and look to the light giver. Looking to Jesus, the founder and perfecter of our faith, who for the joy that was set before him endured the cross. The joy that was set before him, what could have that been? Was it the cross? Let's see. He endured the cross. Do you endure things that are your joy? It says, he endured the cross, despising the shame. Are joy set before you shames? No. What was set before him? People were set before him. The church was set before him. You were set before him. I was set before him. My kids, my daughter, my son, my wife, my mom, my dad, everybody around me was set before him. That's why he came to the cross. And that's why he made us. God made us because he wanted to love us. He does love us. And because he loves us, he chose to make us with the ability to choose. And there's a huge, giant theological discussion and debate that we can go on about that, the ability to choose. But the fact is that we're before Christ, and he endured the cross for us. And that means that the purpose for our lives, the reason we were made, is for the joy of Christ, the joy of him. And if he can enjoy us, surely we can enjoy him. And he is seated at the right hand of the throne of God. And he said to his disciples, I go to prepare a place for you. And if I go to prepare a place for you, I will come again and I will bring you to where I am, that where I am, there you may be also. And that's the goal of life, isn't it? To be with Jesus for all of eternity. This life here is awesome. It's amazing. It can be great. And it can be not so great. Because there's sin in the world. And I've done things that make other people's lives hard. And you've done things that make other people's lives hard. Have you driven perfectly your entire life? I haven't. Have you ever cut somebody off? Have you ever said something mean or retaliatory? I have. And sometimes I bet I've made some people not have a good night's sleep. Because I'm a sinful person. And I hate to break it to you, but you're not perfect either. And outside of perfection, we create hardship in this world. But when Christ is the light of the world, there's something to hope in, something to look to that is greater than this world. And that's what I'm hoping for you today. that something greater comes into your life. That something being Jesus. And that you see him, that you see the light, and that you accept him as the light of the world, the true light of the world. God, I pray for anybody who's hearing this message, that they feel your love, Lord, that they allow themselves to feel your love, Lord, that they decide to open this word, Lord, and that they would open it to just what you would have them hear in this moment. And Lord, I'm praying for those people who are watching who've loved you their whole life and they love you at this moment, and that you would bless them too, Lord, even more than you've blessed them already. That you would stir in them a desire to reach people for you. I pray that our greatest desires as followers of you is that we would help other people get to know you as well, and that we would introduce you to this world, or introduce this world to you, and that you would make us fishers of men, Lord. We love you so much, Lord, and I pray that you be in our lives, Lord. Amen. So I'm praying that this message reaches you in a good place, but if not, I'm praying that you find a good place to get in his word. And I hope that this has provided maybe a glimpse of hope in your life, and that glimpse of hope will cause you and stir you to look closer at that hope. And I thank you for watching. My name is Jake Summers, and I hope to see you here again.